Hello everyone. A warm welcome to the live webinar by Abhyaas Law Prep on Law Prep and Opportunities on this very interesting day, 4th June 2021. A very good evening to all of you. I hope my voice is clear. So before we get started, I just wanted a quick confirmation of all those who are watching this live webinar. Can you quickly confirm if the audio is clear? Can you please type? Can you please reply if the audio and video are clear? Okay, thank you, Sangavi, has joined on Facebook. Thank you, Aruna, joined on YouTube. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I think that helps me. So without any delay, let's get started. So firstly, we want to extend a huge applause to all of you to kind of join this session, at 8 p.m. I know this is a time when most of us want to retire during the day, retire to rest for, after having worked through the day, after having gone through your college or gone through your schoolwork, etc. We all look forward to kind of having a easy evening. And but my team at Abhyaas kind of tells me somehow 8 p.m. is a good time to kind of talk to young friends like yours, because this is the time that you kind of get onto media, digital media and stuff. So I hope this is the right time to kind of chat with all of you through this nice interactive live webinar. So firstly, I want to kind of know before we start the session, because today's session is about what are the opportunities for people who pick up law, what kind of things that they should keep in mind before entering law as a career option, and when to start, what kind of things to keep in mind, what kind of courses to take in 12th, what kind of planning, all that I will try to answer it, and we'll try to make the live webinar as interactive as possible. I please keep typing questions that you have on your mind as the seminar goes. So in fact, during the webinar, during the seminar, during this live webinar, what I will be doing is I'll definitely kind of after every topic, after every point that I'm going to talk to you, I'm definitely going to kind of ask you questions, ask you to kind of respond through chat, and also kind of I'll take your questions. You can type your questions, I'll take your name and try to answer as many questions as possible through this live webinar. In case because there'll be many people and there'll be many comments and questions going on. If I miss anything, you can keep typing, asking me, and my team will definitely try to answer even after the session. But 99.99%, I'll ensure that each question is answered during the session only. So before we get started, friends, I would want to ask you, I think we'll quickly do an introduction of the speaker myself, and then we'll start the session, right? So let's quickly let me kind of take you through my introduction. Who am I, and how does it how am I connected with CLAT or CLAT training, law prep training, etc. So my name is Naresh Dubbudu. I'm the founder CEO of Abhyaas Technologies, the parent company of the brand Abhyaas Law Prep. And I'm myself an engineer. I'm a gold medalist from NIT Warangal, and then went to IIM Bangalore. I've been among the toppers there. I've been to Stanford Business School as exchange alumnus, and I work with McKinsey and Company, world's preeminent strategic consulting firm. I worked at Tata Motors, and after that, I've started this company. I've also served as a director of a business school in B College, and then I'm a panelist speaker with Hindu Business Line on various topics like education and economy. And currently, in today's session, I have kind of joined the session not with all this background. Today's background is very simple. I have come to you, all of you today, as law aspirants, as law students and law parents. I'm talking to you today as the chief mentor and team lead, department head for current affairs, GK and current affairs at Abhyaas Law Prep. So this is my introduction to all of you, and I hope my time with you in the next 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever time, I'll be more than happy to take as many questions as I can. Hope it is useful to you, to the students out there, to the parents out there, right? So one other interesting thing, I know this is a little, this is a dicey time to kind of share this picture, because sometimes, the current prime minister is out of favor with many people these days, right? But the interesting thing is, the reason I share this is not because of any political connection, but it is more due to, I want to share, as a GK faculty myself, I always love to kind of inspire students in GK competitions. This is a picture of mine with the Prime Minister of the country, Mr. Narendra Modi, during 2017, when I was in the top 10 in the country. I was selected as a top 10 winners in the country for a digital quiz Government of India has conducted. And close to 70,000 odd people across India have participated digitally, and I was in the top 10 in the country. And I got a chance to kind of meet him in person and got awarded, etc. So I thought I wanted to share this, not because of the affiliation with leader, but I wanted to tell you that I stood at the top 10 in the country out of 70,000 people. That is to tell that that is something that is connected to my interest in GK, my interest in current affairs. So this is my background. So I have faced many different competitive exams as a student, and I have trained tens of thousands of students over the last decade. In fact, over the last 12 years, we have been training students for various competitive exams at Abhyaas. And at Abhyaas Law Prep, we have hundreds of NLU students, NLU admission that happened over the history. And we're very happy today to kind of catch up with you. Every year during this time, we kind of come to kind of talk to young friends and their parents to kind of understand your concerns, solve your queries, help as much as we can as someone within the field of CLAT education. So this is about me. So before we go ahead and kind of continue the session, I want to ask you a very interesting question. So all those in the session today, can you quickly type something for me? I think Tapesh Patak has already typed CLAT 22. Good. I think Tapesh ji, I don't know if you're a student or a parent. I can sense from the picture that you could be the parent. The thing I want to ask all of you in the session today is basically, this is a session which we are kind of, aiming at those who want to kind of get into CLAT, understand law. But having known that, I want to know the audience of the session. How many of you, are you preparing for CLAT 21? Are you preparing for CLAT 22? Or are you in 6th, 7th, 8th standard? I don't know. The reason I'm asking this is I will know based on the audience. I think I'll be able to kind of curate my thoughts, curate my ideas better to kind of better suit the audience. Can you all pick tightly one sentence, one phrase saying which CLAT year you are targeting? Audience, can you please quickly, friends, student friends, if it is a parent, you can say parent CLAT 22. If it's a student, just write CLAT 22, CLAT 21, CLAT 23, like that. Or if you're someone who is yet to decide on CLAT, you've completed 10th standard, right, 11th. If you've completed 9th standard, right, 10th. Can you please type that? And that will help us, as we enter the session, as we enter the webinar. I think it will help us a lot to kind of curate the right ideas and thought. Good, nice. Tapesh ji has written CLAT 22, Prabhanjan 22, good. Can you quickly type which CLAT year you are kind of targeting, you're kind of thinking of? Those who are yet to decide, if not clad, please type which standard you are in. Are you in 10th? Are you in 11th? Are you in 12th? Have you completed 12th? Have you completed 9th? Yeah. Okay, Sangavi is writing, yeah. Yes, she's a second year student, exams postponed. Okay, want to prefer CLAT 22 next year. Okay, good, good. Thank you, Sangavi. I understand. Aruna has written 22 again. Anuhya, CLAT 23, very interesting, right? So, Anuhya, you would have completed 10th now, okay? Pallavi, 10th completed, right? Very interesting. I understand many of you are 12, 11th and 12th standard, and one or two of you are also people who have completed 12 but planning for CLAT next year. Good. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. That's very useful. So what we'll do now is, I think I'll kind of try to let's ease out into the session. Today's session is about a lot of whys and whens and hows and whatnot, right? So I don't want to make it very boring, very text oriented, too much of data there. I want to kind of answer each question of yours and in the right way. Okay, Asita, you are a well-known name to me. I've kind of I know you, right? You're a student already. Right? Anyway, coming back. So what we should do is I would want to kind of talk to you about some very let's see, you're all aspiring to kind of become lawyers. Let me see how many of the people that I'm going to talk about today already. Let's look at that. No? This should be very interesting. So I have put together a set of people, set of names in the legal fraternity, legal field, luminaries, legal legends, like legal people who are in the field that you should be knowing about. And this is only a small cross section. By no means the idea is to say that this is the be all and all, but these are people we should be knowing, at least from the Indian legal system point of view. So just wanted to know how many of these names you would know. See, Harish Salve, he's always in the news. He's someone who is kind of taking on to some keynote cases in Supreme Court, on the either side, that kind of see by kind of arguing the case in Supreme Court. I think a lawyer is shaping the future of the country in many ways, right? Just like a member of parliament is kind of legislating a law or a bill into a law. Interesting thing is, people within the law fraternity, you have the unique advantage. Unlike any other profession, you have a great advantage of actually progressing the law in the country by arguing the merits and demerits of a case in the top court of the country, Supreme Court. What you're basically doing is Supreme Courts pass judgments which become landmark verdicts. They kind of interpret the constitution also. So in a way, while you don't make a law, you get a chance to kind of facilitate the law. You kind of make exceptions, make rules, and that's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, that is something that is the power of someone who is practicing law at the pinnacle, at the topmost court in the country. So you can all target to do that. That is Mr. Hari Salve doing on constitutional and taxation, and Mr. K. K. Venugopal is Attorney General of the country for 4+ years now. Attorney General is the highest law officer in the country. He kind of argues on behalf of government of India in Supreme Court, and he also kind of advises the government of India on various issues, right? And Dr. Subramanian Swamy, you all would have heard of sometimes for controversies with things he says. He's in the ruling party, but he also he's someone who always speaks his mind. A lot of ideas, I kind of disagree with many of his ideas, but I believe he is someone. He's a very elder person, but I respect the kind of energy and vibrancy he has even at this age, and the kind of energy he brings in. So I think Dr. Subramanian Swamy, he's a Rajya Sabha member. So that these are the people that are in the legal fraternity in India, you should know. And by the way, for all those years, let me see, you're all law aspirants. So in 11th standard, 12th standard, let me ask you a question. Very recently, one more famous lawyer of the country has been appointed to Rajya Sabha. Can you tell me who is the latest legal luminary, very popular lawyer in the leagues of Hari Salve and Subramanian Swamy, who has been appointed to Rajya Sabha very recently? I'm looking for answers. Friends. I know you might feel that this is not a GK class, but yeah, yes, why not? Why not? How many of you know the name of a famous legal personality who has been appointed to Rajya Sabha very recently? Come on, I need some answers. Do you need a hint? His father was one of the most popular ever lawyers in the country. His father was the most popular lawyer. You can say someone who people believe kind of charges a very huge premium for his 1 hour. right? One hour. Okay, okay. I have an answer from Mr. Krishna Verma Ranjit G. Okay. Any other answers? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if it's an answer or it's towards something else. But how many of you? Let me kind of give you a hint. Let me ask you this thing because we're using it to the seminar. I'm trying to kind of webinar. I'm trying to kind of do this. I'm just trying to do the ice breaking, etc. I'm still looking for answers. Friends, young friends here, you should tell me. Okay, let me ask you a connected question so that it probably will trigger some answer in your mind. Yes, there will be many people. I'm not saying, but the most recent one I'm talking about. So, how many of you know a lawyer named Ram Jetmalani? How many of you have heard the name Ram? Yes, Pramod Kumar has given me the right answer. The right answer is Mahesh Jetmalani. Absolutely. Harshita gave right answer. Absolutely, Pramod. Right, son of Ram Jetmalani. Ram Jetmalani is was the preeminent lawyer of the country who is known to charge very premium for his 1 hour. And Mahesh Jetmalani, his son, is also lawyer practicing at the Supreme Court. He's known for many cases where he has argued the merits and demerits of very high-profile cases, and he's now become the nominated Rajabha member by the President of India very recently. Okay, good. Pramod, Harshita, good job. Vinay, all of you have given me the answer. Very good job, guys. So now that we understand some of these people, let me also give you some more names. These are from the Supreme Court. These are from the people in the political fraternity, etc. Some names you should also know. You can also influence the country through your legal knowledge, through your legal expertise, not only through Supreme Court, not only through political spectrum, but even through corporate. I think we have Mr. Cyril Shroff and Jyoti Sagar, who run the India's currently. They run India's. They kind of are the founders of India's best known law firms. Best known law firms. Amarchand Mangaldas and Jyoti Sagar. All these are some names. These are top law firms in the country. See, what happens is law firms are not known to many different people except people within the industry. For example, if I ask you what are the top software companies, software firms in the country, everyone will talk about it: TCS, Infosys, Wipro, like that, right? Because they hire lakhs of people. So, but whereas Amarchand Mangaldas or Jyoti Sagar would not be known to many different people because they are also law firms in the league of these companies. But the thing is, law firms right now probably hire a few hundreds, right? When they kind of hire a few lakhs, people will in the media will talk about it all the time. But as law aspirants, you should know these companies. These are top private law firms, corporate law firms in the country. So these are the founders of those law firms, and these law firms hire from NLUs, and you should be knowing them. So that's why these are important names. And the last person, probably the most important legal if I tell you the single most important law person, legal luminary in the country right now, it is Justice N.V. Ramana, N. Venkat Ramana. He's the current Chief Justice of India. He's the 48th Chief Justice of India, appointed very recently. Any idea whom did replace? Current Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, Venkat Ramana, has replaced. Who is the outgoing Chief Justice of India? Can anyone tell me? Who was the 47th Chief Justice of India, who has retired very recently in April, and Mr. N. Venkatraman became the current Chief Justice of India. Do you know, friends? Because it's an important thing. So he, from the judicial framework, we spoke about people who kind of argue the cases in Supreme Court, and people we talk about people who kind of go into politics, administration, political administration, go into legislature. We spoke about private law firms. We also have to talk about judiciary, the people who actually shape the verdicts towards issues, complex issues in the country, and that kind of becomes a huge convention path for future, right? Justice Ramana is the current. Yes, Pramod has given me good answer. Good job, Pramod. Yes, Sharad Aravind Bobde. Right, very good. Sharad Aravind Bobde. Rishi is given right answer. Mahit is given right answer. Good job. Right, very good. Krishnan Verma, very good job. So Sharad Aravind Bobde is the outgoing Chief Justice of India, 47, and the current one is Justice Ramana. So these are the various legal luminaries, legal top people, personalities that you should be knowing in the country. I'm talking about India. Now we have a little bit of fun in the session today. I'm going to talk about, we spoke about legal luminaries. Let me also ask you, do we know these fictional characters that have practiced law? Right? I'm sure you will know more of these people than the people in the earlier slide. Right? Earlier slide say "Jada ye slide of enjoy karoge." I know that. That's opening now. I like you see this thing. I want you to tell me. Let me see how many can you identify. Right? I've kind of put together vernacular, I mean, South Indian Telugu movies to Hindi movies, Bollywood movies to like Hollywood web series, etc. Let me see how many of you. See, those who are, you all want to get into law, I think I'm going to give you a couple of interesting web series that you can watch, right? If you like law, I think these are people you should be knowing, right? These are people, I'm not talking about them in real life, it is Amitabh Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai, Akshay Kumar, and Pawan Kalyan, but I'm talking about the roles they play. Can you even type the name of the role Akshay Kumar has played as a lawyer in his very successful movie? Movie name and the character name? Anyone? Come on, I'm sure you all know. I just want to know this. Can you give me the answer, friends? I know it's a probably few years old, but you would all know how many. I don't know how many of you watched the movie. Movie name or the character name, whatever you remember. Anyone knows that? Absolutely, Anuja is right. Jolly LLB sequel for Jolly LLB. It is Jolly LLB 2. Right, good. Anyone knows the name of the character he played? I know that's a difficult, right? That's a little difficult. That is absolutely, you're all right. Krishna, Einstein, right? You're right. Ganesh, right? Jolly LLB, sequel to Jolly LLB, Jolly LLB 2. Very good. Right? He played like advocate, right? Jagdishwar Mishra. Okay, anyway, so that I am happy you got the name right. I mean, the second one is probably the easiest in the lot. Second one, Amitabh Bachchan, easy to kind of, you all should know it. It is so much in the news with the recent vernacular Telugu version of that also. Which movie was that? Amitabh Bachchan played lawyer in a recent, not so recent, I would say, 7 years, 6, 7 years back. But yeah, come on. Second picture on the slide. I want to know how many of you know this Amitabh Bachchan's movie. And if you know the name, wonderful. If you know that, yes, Pink, absolutely. Daljit, right? Daljit is right. Anusha, yes, very good. You all got it. Pink, absolutely. Does anyone know the name of the character? Do you remember the name of the character? Good. You're all like, movie name is correct. Do you know the name of the character? So sometimes it's good to kind of remember the name of the character. That kind of vibes with you, isn't it? Right? Not all the time movie names are the character names. Yes, Deepak Sehgal, Ashita got it right. Ashita is right. Deepak Sehgal is the name, right? Deepak Sehgal is the name of the character that the erstwhile, the veteran Amitabh Bachchan has played. Right? Did he not play it to perfection? Wasn't it superb? It was not like a mighty, regular, pitbull kind of role, but you see how a lawyer kind of luminary can change the narrative. Wonderful, isn't it? I really love the performance of great Amitabh Bachchan, particularly in the last 10 minutes. The way he kind of makes the closing comments of the Pink movie, I think that is wonderful. Yes, there are other, I'll talk about the next one also, but I think the closing comments in Pink were too good. Okay. Yeah, right. Good, all of you. Right. Third one, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. Aishwarya Rai has played a very powerful lawyer role. It's again a remake, probably Hollywood movie, but anyone knows the movie name? Probably difficult to guess the character name, but at least the movie name. Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. Again, few years back, she played the role of a lawyer who is like uh, yes, right. Jazba, very good. Jazba is the right answer. So she was actually kind of some criminals kind of exert pressure on her to kind of do something that is incorrect, that is illegal, etc. That's a wonderful movie, right? Jazba is the right answer. Jazba is the right answer. And she plays Anuradha Verma. And bottom right one, I think, yeah, I'm sure many of you, anyone from Telugu, anyone from Hyderabad, you would know, very recent hit movie, even during the pandemic time. Yes, Power Star Pawan Kalyan. Yes, what is the movie? What is the movie? You all know it has come very recently. What is the movie that he has played a lawyer in? And what is the name of the character? I think this time it's not movie name I'll ask you the name of the character. Do you remember the name of the character? Because it's a very recent movie. By the way, this is a remake for Pink in Telugu. And there's a remake for Pink in Tamil, played by Ajit. They've done superb. Pawan Kalyan and Ajit have done great. They're wonderful movies. And overall, they've kind of have crescendo, soft, the great. But I think the closing arguments have always been the best by erstwhile Amitabh Bachchan. Yeah. Okay, good. Sai Mahit, Vakil Saab, Satyadev, Sangvi. Yes, Pallavi, you're all right. That is Vakil Saab, Yes. Satyadev is the name of the role. Now let me kind of, before we go to the session, yes, 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 absolutely. Einstein has answered. He's waiting for the question that like the very popular web series. There are many popular web series on law with the background of law and courtroom drama. But the one that is close to my heart, I enjoy a lot, is the one on the left side, bottom left side. That is, Einstein has already given the name Suits. The name of the series. Any one of you planning to kind of take up law, I think it's great for you to, you can watch Suits on Netflix, Prime, you can check. But I think it's important. Suits is a great web series. It is wonderful. You'll know a lot about how law interpreted, particularly internationally, right? And what's your favorite character? How many of you watch Suits? If you watch Suits, you say I watch Suits, and tell me what is your favorite character in Suits. Okay, if you don't watch Suits, just tell me I don't know, right? That's okay. Can you please type that? And by the way, there are a lot of names out there. I love the fun that Louis Lick creates, and you know, Harvey Specter is of a different league, but my favorite character is Louis Lick in terms of the fun comic relief he gives in the series. Yeah, and Donna is already there. Peter is there. There are a lot of these names, but I'm saying, what is your favorite character in Suits? Does anyone watch? Does anyone here watch Suits? Did you watch? Are you watching? It's a wonderful series on courtroom drama. Anyone? Okay. Right, I haven't yes answered good, but if it's yes, can you tell me a character that you like a lot? Okay, Rishi says I don't know. That's okay, Rishi. You can watch it now. You can watch it when you get time. This is a wonderful series that you can watch to kind of get interest in law, right? Know more about law and how, I mean, courtroom drama and outside court also, how kind of things are created. It's wonderful. And whether one of the characters that played, she has gone on to become a princess royal. Anyone know? Yes, my Einstein fall, my cross. Okay, okay, right. Wonderful. Mike is actually, does anyone know that actually one of the characters here in like many seasons of Suits has gone on to become a British royal family's member. She got married into British royal family. Recently, they got separated from the royal family and started staying in United States. Do you know the name of the lady? Princess. She married the British royal family's prince, Prince Harry. Anyone know? Name of the lady, a leading lady character from this series has moved on to marry a British royal family member. Yes? Anyone knows? Come on, she's in news. She was in news. In fact, both the couple, they were in news when they gave an interview with Oprah Winfrey, and they kind of no, no, Pallavi, not right. Kate Middleton, no. The Kate Middleton has married into British royal family, but she is not the name that I'm talking about who played in Suits. Kate Middleton is actually the wife of the elder prince. I'm talking about the one of the younger prince. Absolutely, Sudhanvi is right. Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is right answer. Right. Good. So I think in the first 20 minutes of the session, I think we have kind of eased out into a lot of these things, law, important people, and fun characters and all that. Let's actually use the let's actually enter the meaty part of the session now. Without much delay, let's kind of look at what are the important things. Why should we choose law? You should not choose law just because someone asked you to. See, the one big mistakes, yes, the one big mistake many of you try to kind of many people at your age when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, that's an age where many of you make the mistake of choosing any career, not only law, any career for that matter, because your uncle said so, because your dad asked you to, because of your mother said so. I think while they're good starting reasons, your final reason has to be because you really like it, right? You really like it. So that is something that is very important for all of you. So you should know why you want to choose law, why you want to choose law. I think few different things logically, is there are a lot of career options. I'm going to talk about them in this session. It's always in demand. This is one field that's going to be in demand, evergreen field, like medical, like these are things that are going to be evergreen. And it's emotionally satisfying if you depending on the kind of work you want to do, and it's very challenging. So these are some things that people ought to know. And one other thing I want to kind of tell you, you should have your own reason. These are some reasons I'm giving, but each one of you, You have to have one reason. If you are choosing law as a career, your reason has to be emotionally tugging at your heart. It's not because of your dad, your mom, your teacher, like me. We all can give you reasons, but they have to be starting reasons. But the final reason, the real emotional connect has to come from you. What really inspires you? You have to find that, like, anchor. That's very important. If that anchor is missing, if you're doing it for the sake of someone else, with this field or any field, you would not really enjoy it that much, right? Yes, Einstein, I think you are giving answers, right? But we have moved on. Let's kind of focus on the next part of the session, right? Let's go ahead. So I want to kind of use this quick thing that I want to tell you. Now, uh, as many of you would have heard, CLAT as an exam, no? It started back in 2009. But the interesting thing is the competition for CLAT. The competition for CLAT has only shot up in the last few years, right? When I remember very well, when 2009, 2010, when CLAT really started, number of takers was as low as in 10,000, 15,000, 12,000, etc. But over the next decade or so, next 7, 8 years, now the number of actual CLAT takers has increased tremendously. In fact, last year, the very interesting thing is 2018-19, we saw the number of aspirants. And there's a small difference here. I'll explain it in detail. All of you please note it carefully. The graph I have put there is about the number of applicants, number of people who applied for CLAT in those years, 2018, 19, 20, etc. You see, 2018-19, it's around 60,000. 2020, suddenly there's a jump of around 15, 17,000. By the way, please understand these are CLAT UG plus PG both. Typically, PG is 5 to 10,000. So you can mostly assume 90% of the numbers are from UG only, undergraduate CLAT UG program. So these are the number of applicants, right? I think last couple of years, we also are seeing the jump in CLAT because CLAT has removed the upper age ceiling. Earlier, CLAT used to have upper age ceiling. That is, only people who are under the age of 21 can apply for CLAT UG. I think slowly they have removed the ceiling, they have removed the upper cutoff, and that's also one more reason why more people are applying, etc. Now, these are a number of applicants, but do understand, not everyone who applies for CLAT finally writes CLAT. That's something that you should be knowing. I'll give you a latest number for you to really understand. For all of you who are trying to kind of target CLAT, target the exam this year, I want you to note something very, very interesting, right? We want to, yeah, Sudan, we will talk about that. We'll definitely talk about, yeah, we'll IPMAT not today, IPMAT not today, but which stream to take for CLAT, we'll discuss that. Any questions you have on IPMAT, I'll definitely take toward the end. Yeah, but the focus is CLAT exam. I want to understand, I want to tell you that number of applicants is important, but what is more important is number of actual takers. It has been observed, we have observed that over the years, every year, close to 78, 77% people actually write the exam. Out of the people who have applied. Last year, for example, because of the upper age limit taken away, number of times it's extended. This year also they're extending the deadline again and again. So number of applicants could be very high. This year, would it be 80,000? Maybe number of applicants. But the number of actual takers last year was around 57,000. Some 78% of the people have taken the exam. Out of them, you can probably take few thousands here and there for PG. But then overall, I think out of the 2,900 odd seats, 3,000 seats in all the 22 plus NLUs, I think the ratio of the seats to the number of takers is 1:19, 1:18. That means you have to be in the top 5% of the country to be able to get a CLAT seat. And if you're talking about being in the top 3 in the country, you want to go to the NLSU Bangalore, Nalsar Hyderabad, or Kolkata, Bhopal, that kind of top 3 colleges. I think then probably the ratio goes from 1:19 to 1:100 also. I think you have to be very, very, very careful, very, very, you should target this kind of thing. Remember, this is a very important metric. So even this competition increasing over the years should give you a hint that law as a career is becoming popular. More and more people are taking it up. More and more people want to try this, and obviously the number of NLUs have gone up. When CLAT started in 2009, you will be surprised the number of NLUs were 7 or 8. Right? NLU Odisha was the newest NLU at that time. Today, NLU Odisha is ranked among the top NLUs, right? So today there are 22 NLUs now. I think a lot of these options have come up, and many people are taking it up. And that's why we say it's important for you to keep in mind to understand that there are a lot of options. For those of you sometimes who kind of believe that, hey, is CLAT a good option because there are only few seats, should I take it or not? Remember, one important metric I kind of tell all my student friends, as someone who has aced a lot of competitive exams at the UG level and PG level. I've aced IIT JEE and those engineering entrance exams at UG level. At the PG level, I've aced CAT exam for IIMs, considered one of the toughest exams in the world. I have what I have understood, some important, interesting metric I've understood. There's some, and for the last 12 years, I've been training hordes of students, training tens of thousands of students, developing a lot of mentors, teachers for competitive exams. I want to tell you something very interesting. Parents out there in the session, if any, and students, young students like you have to remember one very, very important metric, my dear friends. That is this, whichever field you choose. A lot of people believe IIT JEE is tough, or medical is tough, or I don't know, each of you. Please understand, JEE and medical are exams which require a lot of knowledge, right? CLAT, IPMAT, etc. are exams which require a lot of skill, lot of reasoning ability. They're very different. Don't assume one is difficult, one is easy. It depends on your skill set. It depends on your ability. Some people who like doing a lot of practice and focus on deep knowledge, maybe IIT and medical will have. People who are very good at exhaustive reading, people who have very good reasoning skills, I think you will enjoy CLAT and IPMAT, these kind of exams more. So it depends SAT, these kind of exams more. So you have to understand that every exam is difficult in that way. But one very important thing I want to tell you is that whichever competitive stream, whichever competitive exam you write, friends, at UG level, PG level, I've seen, I feel that at least in the India, I'm talking about Indian competitive exams at the national level. One very interesting metric I found is if you really want to go to the cream colleges in that field, right? The magic number for you is 1:20. The number is here and there, right? Let's take an example of engineering. In engineering right now, what are the top engineering colleges in India? We have IITs, NITs, and these colleges. You would know the number of takers in engineering have actually been decreasing over the last 3 years. See, 2, 3 years back, number of IIT JEE aspirants, engineering aspirants were 15, 16 lakhs, whereas medical it was 8, 9, 10 lakhs. In the last 3 years, it has shifted. Now the medical is actually 15, 16 lakhs, number of people applying for medical, NEET and all these kind of exams, versus JEE, it's only 12 lakhs or so, around 12 lakhs or so. If I kind of give you a hint, if I would say someone preparing for engineering, every student can get an engineering student these days, and engineering has become a joke in many ways. But please understand, getting into engineering is great if you get to the right IITs, NITs, and these top colleges, right? So if you kind of look at top colleges in engineering, I think all these NITs, IITs together, all the bits and all these top colleges together, there will be 50, 60, 70,000 seats, right? This 50, 60, 70,000 seats versus 12 lakh people writing, the ratio will again be 1:20. Right? You talk about medical, there are 16 lakh, 15, 16 lakh people writing in the country. Why is medical still considered? Because the number of seats. Number of seats are less than 1 lakh. Number of medical, I'm not even talking about AIMS and stuff. All medical colleges together. That is why there's a premium there. But still, even there, if you have to get a medical seat, leave for a minute, unlike CLAT and unlike IIT. If I talk about overall medical seats, I mean, they're easily into a lakh and a lakh to a couple of lakhs, depending on if you add all of them. But at least the premium good ones, a lakh. Again, the ratio could be around what 1:20, 1 is. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are in the one out of the 20, if you every 20 people writing competitive exam, if you are in one of them, you will make it, you'll make the cut. If you really want to go to the top league, I'm talking about right now 1 out of 20. If you're in the top 5% in the group that you are fighting for, in a larger group anywhere, you will qualify, you will be able to make it. This is some metric that you can keep in mind. But in case you don't want, you just don't want to be someone who is good enough. Crack that good. But I want to be someone who cracks the exam with the top performance. I want to go to IIT and IIT, not just that. I want to go to the top 5 IITs, top 5 IITs. I want to be in the top branch, right? Also, like that, then I think the ratio for you is 1%. Remember, 1:100. If you're in the top 1% of the country in whatever you do, it could be engineering, it could be law, it could be medical, whatever, friends, you would go to the number one institution, top tier institutions. So this is something that you should know. You should at least aspire to be. If you think you can be one among 20, I think you're going to make the cut. You can be happy. Your parents can be happy. You will get a good college. You'll get a good placement. Good, everything is good. If you can be 1 in 100, you will be someone who will be revered much more. So now this is something that you need to fight for. So if you, what we believe at Abhyaas in all the things that we say is, see, getting into out of the 100 people who compete for any exam, please understand the real competition is only in the top 20%, right? All the people who just apply for the exam on the last day, as I told you, only 78, 77% apply, come. That means the 20, 25% don't even come. Out of the people who came 77%, half of them do not prepare seriously. Half of them who prepare, the real competition is the top 20%. That means the question is, among the top 20, out of 100, there are 20 people, right? That means you have already come into 1:5 if you're preparing seriously. But 1:5 is not going to make the cut. If you're 1:5, you're probably going to, because of your interest and stuff, you can still go to some college. But if you really want to make the cut, I think from 1:5, you need to go to 1:20. Are you one among the 20 people? That's pretty important. That's something that we want to kind of tell you. One interesting metric I'll share toward the end. I don't want to kind of use this as a marketing for Abhyaas Law, but toward the end, remind me, I'm going to talk about a metric connected to this, how Abhyaas Law performs in that ratio. Because we don't, there might be someone who might get a 1 second rank, first rank in the country, doesn't matter. That is students' capability, and we are not a national player, we are just becoming national player. Anyone who have thousands of students can get a rank. But very less number of students, few hundreds of students, but we still get great results. I'll explain toward the end. We measure our thing by ratio. How many people are qualified? What is the ratio? That's very important. Okay, we'll talk about that. Anyway, come so 1 out of every 19 people in the country, 1 out of every 20 people in the country make it to the CLAT. So your target is all those people talking about CLAT 22, CLAT 23. You're talking about it. Ask yourself, will I be at least in the top 1 out of every 20? 1 out of every 20 people, 1 out of every 19 people, only and only then take it seriously. Otherwise, don't get in. I'll be very honest. If you do not really aspire to be in the top 1 out of every 20 people, that is top 5% in the country, I think you should not take CLAT or for that matter any exam. Because if you don't target it, there's no use, right? That's what, if you want to be in the top 1%, wonderful, great for you, because you can go to not just in the good range, you can go into the great range. Okay, so this is something very important. Any questions, friends, so far? I think you can keep typing questions, because now we are entering the meaty part of the session. So I think now we spoke about why one should choose a law. What is the kind of competition we have? We discussed all that. Let me now go on to say what are the various fields, what are the various specializations that we have after, like when one gets into law, what are the various specializations one has? That's something that I want to discuss now. I'm sure you have heard about two very popular, just like in engineering, if someone says computer science, electronics, and mechanical, like that, the two very popular law fields, law specializations everyone talks about is civil and criminal law. Civil law is a law that talks about people with arguments, etc., particularly land cases and all this kind of stuff, or marital disputes, etc., divorce cases, family cases, etc., and all those kind of stuff. But the second thing is criminal law, actual crime, right? There could be theft, there could be death, murders, and all assault, all that kind of stuff. But please understand, every economy, a country, as a country progresses, as a society progresses, economy progresses, law also becomes more finer, more nuanced, more detailed, more complex, more more niche programs develop. And interesting thing is, India is at that cusp. India is now at the cusp of that, our economy becoming larger, our laws becoming stringent, our legal fraternity, judicial fraternity becoming more and more important, and hence we are going to have more and more specializations available within the law in the coming decade. Already we have so many different specializations. We have tax law, people who are experts on tax related things. I'm sure you would have heard of cases like recently Indian government has lost a case with an MNC in an arbitration panel outside India, but Indian government said they'll kind of file a revision, etc. Anyone knows? Anyone knows that which case I'm talking about? An MNC company. Union government of India has lost a suit, an arbitration with someone. Would anyone know that? It's connected to tax law. Yes, I'll use this. Does anyone know? Recent news again. If you want to be a CLAT aspirant, you should know all these things. Just use this break to quickly take a gulp of water. Any answers, friends? A very high-profile case. A multinational firm, a foreign firm, has actually won a suit in an arbitration versus Government of India recently. Government of India said they will kind of contest it again. They don't believe the verdict is correct. They'll appeal. They'll kind of not agree to it. They'll do it. But okay, I'm waiting for some answers. Okay, fine. If you that's okay, friends. You can do research. You can do Google. You can see. CLAT is all about that. You can. I'm only here to kind of incite your interest into something. So research that. Right? So tax law is there. Corporate law. When a company is trying to acquire another company, when a company is trying to form, when a company is doing all that, that's corporate law. We have international law. People now, like I said, there are laws where countries are fighting each other. Countries are talking about a lot of these things. Citizens, like the citizens of one country, when they kind of commit some fraud in another country, how are they extradited? All these kind of things. International law. Labor law is connected to how an employer treats their employees, companies treating employees, etc. Real estate law connected to how to handle Real estate law is very interesting because as a country in India, we're growing. So builders, people who sell real estate, they cannot fleece customers. There's a lot of rules and regulations around real estate. Patents, more and more companies, innovation. When the innovation has to improve, in a country like US, I think the biggest reason why US flourishes even today is because of the strength of their IP protections, their innovation protections, etc. I think very recently, China has overtaken US in terms of number of absolute patents filed, but the quality of patent, the overall value of the patent that US files is great at a collective level, and that's one reason why US is a strong country even today for innovations, etc. Patents, trademarks, and a lot of these things. Abhyaas, you see, for example, you see an R there. Abhyaas is like a trademark. This is a logo that is trademarked and only we can use. So these are the kind of laws that are coming up. Media law is about what are the kind of different things that media related things are coming up. How can they be what kind of things they should be following, what kind of mistakes they should be avoiding, and all this kind of stuff. What kind of control that media can have, all this kind of stuff, right? People always talk about that. Competition. We're talking about, for example, I don't know how many of you heard of this, but there's an institution called CCI, Competition Commission of India. For example, if a company becomes too large, if a single company becomes too large, monopolizing an industry, they're having too much control on this thing, I think competition law becomes very important. Now, in particularly in the current scenario, digital companies, some of the digital giants are becoming so large that they kill competition, right? So Microsoft, Google's, all these companies. I think competition commission of India can make a huge difference. US competition law is so stringent that whenever they believe one of these companies is becoming too large and they kind of infringe the rights of the customers, they don't give choices, etc. I think their Congress, US Congress calls them, Senate calls them, does a lot of congressional hearings. They have a strong competition laws. In India also, we have a competition commission of India. All these things are coming up and they'll become more and more popular, more and more useful in the future. So anyone of you interested in that, you can talk about that, right? IP law, I just spoke about it. Patents is one type of IP. Other intellectual properties, like I said, trademarks, copyrights, all of them. IP law is there. Then you have M&A, mergers and acquisitions, when one company acquires the other one. And now cyber law, cyber terrorism, cyber crime, people kind of fleecing money, people kind of attacking, hacking, a lot of these things, new fields. I've just listed 10, 12 of them. There are many of them. The idea is only to tell you, friends, if you're choosing law, there are so many different things that you can do in the legal field. That's the broad goal of this particular thing that I'm trying to tell you. So, fine. Now that we're entering, we discussed what are the options available if you get into law, great. But that is fine, specialization. But what exactly after the LLB? In case someone studies law, what exactly can they do? What kind of opportunities, what kind of career opportunities do they have? That's exactly we'll talk about in this slide, right? This next slide that I've put up for you is that what kind of things can you do? There are many different things you can do, friends, but I've listed down a few very, very important and most popular careers that people choose, paths that people choose after completing their LLB, right? People can get into practice. That is, you kind of complete your LLB, clear a bar exam, take a bar certificate, bar permissions, and then you can start practicing in lower courts and then high courts, and you can keep doing it. Practice, you can make name for yourself as an advocate. You can become a self-employed. You can employ people. You can create your own law firm, right? That is practice. Second thing, these days, one interesting thing, the one big reason why law has started taking shape, if it was pure law. In fact, I remember very well one of my friends. He's from the earlier first or second batch of Nalsar. He was a gold medalist there. Anshuman Jaiswal. He used to say a very interesting thing. He asked me during we were doing a seminar. We were doing a seminar for Hindu. I think this is 7-8 years back. So he was heading Amachand Mangaldas Hyderabad chapter at the Hyderabad office at that time. So he had a very interesting story. He was telling the students on that day. We were addressing students, class aspirants. He asked students a very interesting question. He asked, how many times do you think I have went on to a court? How many times did I get onto the steps of a court? Right? How many times did I you were surprised. Many people guessed many thousands. You would have gone hundreds of times, so many steps, etc. Thousands of steps, tens of. A lot of people have given a lot of different answers. He said zero, zero. He said the new age lawyers, all of them need not go to a court of law. Corporate lawyers, we sit at corporate law firm just like software firm. We kind of do the studies. We do a lot of that work. We do research. We do analysis. We kind of suggest. We kind of make advice. We make all those things, case laws and stuff. We do a lot of that stuff. But that is something that many students do not realize before that, right? So even a lot of parents who are in the law fraternity, they're trying to get their wards, their kids into this. There is a lot of battalion out there like this, like the names I gave you. So these are some of the top law firms. Not every NLU, not every law school, but top NLUs, top law schools, they have campus placement. This can happen too. A third popular career option after the thing for you friends is you have to understand that there is something called you can also get into judiciary. You can become a judge, right? And the logical path for a judge is you become a lawyer. You become a lawyer, you practice, and then you become a judge. I think slowly with more and more eminent law schools, the the path towards judiciary might become a little more easier for good schools. They might come with those kind of tired process and stuff. It'll be wonderful, that is something that you can think of. As a judge, you can do a lot of good to the society by giving great verdicts and passing a landmark thing and stuff. So this is something that you can think of too, right? Legal process outsourcing is a very interesting field that has come up in the last 5 6 years. There are many good companies that have, just like IT BPO companies, BPO LPO companies. A lot of companies, legal process of foreign firms, Western firms, advanced economies, developed economies, wealthy economies, they are trying to kind of outsource some of the work to India. So any legal, paralegal, someone who has a good legal knowledge, they will get a chance to kind of work. Again, it's very much like a corporate. You kind of work from an office. You're not going to court. You work and you do the case work, you do documentation, you do that is another field that's coming up. This is one of the source of careers, jobs for people who complete law. Right. The next other thing that we have is people can get into research and academics. The people who kind of within law, like I gave you many specializations. In case one of you wants to kind of specialize in one thing, you complete a PhD out there. You can take up you can either become an academician, you become a professor, you can become a tenured professor in various universities, etc. That's one of the very lucrative career option for some of you. This is there in every field. It is there in legal field also. Then there are people who kind of look at the very interesting thing that we have is with corporate law coming up in a big way these days. We see lot of lawyers, successful lawyers after NLUs go on to IIMs, go on to Stanford, go on to Harvard. They do MBA. It could be MBA. It could be company secretary. One other interesting certification that lawyers can do is CS, company secretary. You all would have heard about CA, chartered accountant. Chartered accountant is a very important thing for commerce. But similarly, there's something called company secretary who helps a company kind of work on their law related stuff. Are they compliances? Are they taking care of everything? Company secretary is something that a lawyer can like easily pursue, etc. So this is another example of how people can get into business and business and law, MBA, company secretary, etc. And the final thing that I want to put today, there are many more, but I'm just giving you at least the popular ones. One very straightforward and very interesting route that a lawyer can take, and law graduate from top law schools can take, is you can try and become a civil service officer, UPSC officer, IAS, IPS, etc. Because let me tell you, if there is one exam, if there is one competitive entrance exam at a undergraduate level that can be parallel to, that can be similar to, that can be analogous to UPSC, actual UPSC exam, that is CLAT. You'll be surprised. In fact, I keep joking about this. All the Abhyaas law prep students, all those who prepare for CLAT at Abhyaas law prep, immediately after CLAT exam, that year's UPSC paper you can solve. I'm not saying that you will qualify, you will cut off, you will get selected and stuff, but I'm saying you will have the skill sets required to attempt a UPSC exam already by if you complete CLAT. That's a very positive thing about CLAT. If someone really has, in the longer term, you want to become civil services officer, I think CLAT is the greatest platform you can have at undergraduate level as compared to medical, as compared to engineering, as compared to any other things, as compared to IPMAT, as compared to any other things. I think CLAT is the best platform for someone who wants to become an IAS officer, IPS officer later. And that's why when people talk about IAS Academy, these days IAS Academy, we talk about CLAT Academy. You have to get into CLAT, you do very well, your UPSC preparation is taken care of. So this is something that I wanted to kind of note very clearly, right? So far, any questions, friends? So before we get started, move on to the next thing. Now that we discussed why law, what are the options after law, will before we go to the next thing called how and this thing, how to prepare, how and stuff. Any questions so far? Please keep typing any questions. Are you liking the session? Are you finding something? Is it knowledgeable? Are you finding it useful, friends? Can you quickly type? Are you all there? Can you quickly type if you have any questions? Are you following me? Are you understanding me? Is it useful? Quickly. Come on. It's a live webinar. Let's make it interactive. Yeah. Thank you, Sanghavi. Thank you. That's very useful. Okay, you said yes. Okay. Jahnavi also is saying yes. Yes. Anyone else? Any questions? Good. Thank you for saying yes. Any other questions? Any questions you would have so far from whatever we discussed so far? Any questions? Okay, Sitaratnam. Thank you, Sitaratnam. Thank you, Ashita. Any questions so far from the session so far? Any questions? We have discussed why law, what after law. Krishna Verma says yes. Rishi is saying yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for this comment. Now we'll go into how part. We discussed about what after law, why law, but now talk about how to prepare. Yes, Daljit Singh ji, thank you, thanks a lot. Rishi, thank you. Yes. Okay, good. Rishi is asking a very interesting question. What's the next best college in Hyderabad after Nalsar? You see, the problem is, it's a very interesting question. I mean, my answer to this is, if I, but this might hurt you, this might make you feel bad, but I'll say none. I'll say none. I'll be very honest. I'll say none. Because why do you have to talk about Hyderabad, right? You are in that generation. I'll say rather talk about Nalsar is right now second best ranked NLU, right? I would say if you're talking about the ratio I gave 1 is to 19, 1 is to 20, you're talking about the top law schools in the country. Believe if you are in the top 5%, 10% in the country, you're in the top 1 out of every 10, 1 out of every 20 people in the country. I think Rishi, the only college in Hyderabad worth for you is, I'll be very honest, right now it's Nalsar. But at the same time, I can tell you, if you are in the top 20%, right, if you're talking about the next level, top tier and next immediate tier, I think they're very good schools. You have we have ICFI. I mean, I'm talking about deemed law schools. We have ICFI, we have Symbiosis. These are some names that are Nazi Munji and Symbiosis started their campuses in Hyderabad, but their main campuses are in Pune and Mumbai. But ICFI in Hyderabad is one of the main campuses. ICFI is good. These are some deemed schools. So this is the answer I can give you, Rishi. I have given a very honest answer, and I've also given you what are the other possibilities. There's some law schools in Hyderabad which are based on the state level entrance, not national entrance, but state level. So far, ICFI and other names I gave you are the national level. If you want to kind of write a state level exam, Rishi, there are law schools which are OU campus law school is there. There's Padal Ramreddy, Pendek, some of these names are there. But I'm saying, Rishi, I would, if you are targeting CLAT, if you want to be there, I think try to be the top 1 in 20, 1 in 19, like I said, top 5%. I think these names should not compare. You should only talk about the tier 1, the names I gave up to NLUs and ICFI and these kind. I mean, I would not even talk. You should try to be in first. You should try to get into top NLUs. Right, Risha? I hope I answered your question. Yeah, Anusha is asking a question about placements in NLUs. Anusha, I think this is a very interesting thing. I'll kind of. I think we'll probably do a session specifically about placements in NLUs, trends in NLUs, various NLUs, and what kind of average package we get median salary. We'll do that. We'll do a session. That we'll do one of the webinars in the later part of the year. That's a very interesting we'll do, because that's more detail. I think I'm not explaining here. But what I can tell you is we have heard, at least we have students in Nalsar every year. I think last year in Nalsar, 11 out of 100 students, 105 students in Nalsar are Abhyaas locked up students. Because 10%, 1 out of every 10 in the batch from across the country is just from Abhyaas. You can understand, right? That's something that we're very proud of. So what we understand there is people, anyone who wants a job is getting a job. Sometimes there are multiple companies that they're giving jobs. Packages are also high. There are people who are getting 15, 20 lakh packages also. But like I said, I think it's about, you should understand, unlike other streams, other disciplines, law as a discipline, I think the beautiful thing about law as a discipline is after graduation, after LLB, I think the number of exit paths you have is very many higher than say engineering. An engineering student either takes a job or kind of gets into masters. But in your case, there are 5, 6 various options that a lawyer has, unlike any other field. Right? I've just explained in earlier slide. So that's wonderful thing. Yeah, I hope that's clear. With respect to specific numbers and various college trends in one NLU versus the other placement numbers, etc. I think that's a different webinar. So this is an exploratory webinar, but we'll do. I promise you, Anuvya, be in touch through our webinar series. We're going to do one such webinar in the later part of the season. Yeah. Right. I hope I have answered you guys, Rishi and Anuvya. Good questions. So let me move on. Now we discussed why law. We discussed what options after law. Let's discuss how. Now, all of you are starting your CLAT journey, law prep journey. So let's kind of ask, how do you prepare it? But what things, right? We all know, many of you might have already known. The LLB is basically a 3-year course, right? But please understand, the typical LLB, regular LLB, most of your uncles, parents who are lawyers would have done this. They would have done an LLB program after they've completed graduation. That kind of program is a 3-year LLB. That's a very different program. But the program that you are all preparing for when you are up in 11th and 12th, you're targeting is a 5-year LLB program, which is basically a undergraduate plus LLB within 5 years, right? You're saving 1 year and you're doing an integrated program in law and in the top law schools in the country. That is very important, right? So you have BA LLB, you have BB LLB, BCom LLB, the various different things there, right? And we'll do another session. I think we'll do all these comparisons and stuff some other day. But as someone who is exploratory, I think these are many different options you have, right? So this is something that you should be knowing. Let me now talk about, okay, we understand 5-year LLB, we understand 3-year LLB, but how do you, in this slide, let me talk about what are the entrance exams, what are the possibilities that you have to do this 5-year LLB, to do this program, because 3-year LLB is available at many different law schools, law colleges, but what about the 5-year LLB? 5-year LLB is a program that you're all aspiring for. Let us talk about that. The main exam that you're preparing for, there are many different exams. Today we're not talking about various exams. You have CLAT, you have ILET, you have LSAT, many different exams. That's a different session. I think we have a detailed session also. You can check out our YouTube channel. You can find a lot of a gold mine of information is there about CLAT and other law school exams. But the main exam you're all preparing for, the mother exam, is CLAT, Common Law Admitted Test, started in 2009. Right now, there are 22 NLUs across the country. And to give you a list of all the top law schools, not just NLUs, but all those law schools which you can prepare for either to CLAT or some other exam, or they might take CLAT. Because some of the law schools, while they're not CLAT, they're not an NLU, but they're top law schools, they take CLAT course also. Like that, if I've put together a huge list there, right? So if you can see, I'm not going to read out names, etc. But this is some of the law schools that you should know. Apart from NLUs, the very interesting names out there, if you can see, are basically, GLC Mumbai, Government Law College Mumbai, oldest law school in India and probably one of the oldest in Asia also, right? Oldest in Asia and India. And we have ILS Pune. A lot of these things. Jindal Global Law School is a very popular law school. People are pursuing international law, etc. Based on LSAT. A lot of Nirma Law School, Ahmedabad is another top name. I'm talking about outside NLU fraternity. Symbiosis Pune, Symbiosis Noida, great names. Again, like I said, ICFI Hyderabad is there, Symbiosis Hyderabad is there. These are examples. But I would say you have to understand, you have to take names based on the kind of place and places you kind of look at, right? So these are the names that I have. And more importantly, I think what is important, you also know, I don't want to kind of spend a lot of time here. These are things that you should know. CLAT, the kind of exam we have in CLAT, this is something that you all know already. I don't want to kind of get into details. This is something, this pattern might change anytime. You're writing 20 to 23. We don't know if there's any changes, but at this point in time, last year or so, what is the pattern? Currently, CLAT has undergone a very interesting change. Last year, they've changed the pattern. It's no more just a direct multiple choice question, but it's still multiple choice questions. What is very interesting is they have made it a passage oriented. Every question is connected to a passage. And this is the kind of thing, 5 sections, highest weightage is for current affairs and legal. There is around 35 to 40, 35 to 39 questions in legal and current affairs. English and logical have around 30, 29, 28 to 32. Maths in quantitative also has around 15 to 17 questions. So these are the kind of things that you have. So, but I think this is something, I really don't want to kind of spend a lot of time here. I want to utilize the time more on the next part. I think, like I said, the one real catch point of today's webinar was what stream to take after 10th, what stream to kind of pursue in 11th and 12th. And that is something that I'm going to discuss. Now, that is the part that I want to focus on, take questions from you, preparation and all that stuff. But before we do that, what is a good time to start? When we discussed about why, what, how, let's ask when. When do we really start CLAT preparation? When do we really start the law prep, right? Program, Abhyaas law prep programs, right? You can have, see, there are people who complete, 12th and then prepare for CLAT again. They kind of repeat an year, they kind of long-term repetition. You kind of complete 12th, prepare for one entire year for CLAT. People are doing that. The people who complete 12th and within those 2 months after board exams, this year and last year because of pandemic, that kind of situation is a little dicey. But the people who prepare for CLAT in the last 2-3 months, or they prepare for an entire year. The people who start preparation for program in 12th, that is after class 11th, the 1-year program that is. There are people who prepare after class 10, that is in 11th and 12th, 2-year program. And there are people who do pre-CLAT also. There are people who are preparing for CLAT during 8th, 9th, 10th also. We call it pre-CLAT or CLAT foundation. We'll talk about that. And see, you can prepare physical classes. If you are in a top tier metro, you have good coaching classes, you can go there. you want to do online classes with pandemic and stuff, I think one great option that you all have, whichever part of the country you are in, is try to kind of take a digital program online from the comfort of your home, on your laptop, on your digital device. Anyone, any top faculty, you can always reach out to them. That's possible. And there are people who prepare by taking materials and mocks also. But more importantly, I want to focus here. This is the thing that I said. These are various things that we have. We discussed why, we discussed what, we discussed how, we discussed uh, when, right? But let me tell you, my main agenda of the thing is absolutely. Rishi is already asking a question. Let me kind of it's connected, Rishi. That's exactly what I want to address in the towards the last part of the session today, right? See which stream to take in 12th, which stream to take in 11th and 12th. Those of you who have just completed 10th, you are trying to get into 11th and 12th. Your goal is law. I think this is a very useful slide for you. I think, right? There are a couple of questions. Rishi, I try to answer this through this slide, so please wait for this and then your question will be answered. A lot of times people ask me, sir, what stream should we take in 12th? Should I take science? There is an MPC program, maths, physics, chemistry, or should I take a BIPC, like a biology, physics, chemistry? Should I take commerce programs, like economics, commerce, or should I take humanities, civics, and history and all that stuff in 12th? Let me tell you some interesting pattern here. You'll be surprised to know, eligibility wise, law as an exam can be taken by any stream. Engineering, you have to do MPC. For medical, you have to do BIPC. But for law, the beautiful thing is, whichever stream you take in 12th, it doesn't matter. Any stream you take, it doesn't matter. You do any stream, you can do BIPC and write CLAT. You can do MPC and write CLAT. You can do MEC and write CLAT. You can do history, civics, you can write. That's very so. This goal of should I take science versus commerce? I'll let me tell you, which stream you take doesn't matter. But one thing we have observed as CLAT trainers for the last 12 years, one thing that I want to tell you is, it is, I would say, it definitely makes a lot more sense, friends, to kind of focus on. I would say it is very important for you to kind of focus on. I would say commerce and humanities is a better this thing for you guys because why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? Because those who are preparing, say, you want to prepare for CLAT, but then you choose a BIPC or then you choose an MPC. I think that's not a great thing. Let me tell you why. What happens, friends, is science programs like MPC, BIPC require a lot of lab work, a lot of program, lot of part of the program which is not directly connected to your CLAT preparation. So usually what we suggest is within the conundrum of science versus commerce, if you still have not chosen, as in if you are just completed 10th, you are getting into 11th and 12th, I definitely urge you and your parents to try to pick up, if CLAT is your first preference, main goal, I think I would suggest you to prefer a commerce or humanities program for sure as compared to science. That's something that I can tell you if CLAT is the main goal. Right, this is something that I want to tell you very, very, with utmost, I would say, this is a earnest appeal. Many people, many parents do not realize the importance of this because many people think, let us try science. If that doesn't happen, let us try this in a yoga. Let me tell you, if you are someone who prepares for your engineering program during the 2 years and they later decide suddenly in 2 months on a yoga. Yes, there are some people who do engineering for 2 years, then they don't enjoy it. Then later 1 year program they'll do, that's different. But if you're only trying to crack it in 2 months, it's a 50-50 thing. You might crack it, you might not crack it. So I would suggest you to kind of, if 2 year program you're planning, please plan commerce or humanity program in 11th and 12th. That will aid you more with respect to your preparation for CLAT. It will give you more time, subjects connected, a lot of these things are there. Now the second conundrum, let me explain one more conundrum. A lot of people ask me, so during this time in 12th standard, should we kind of take maths program or non-maths? As in, should I take a stream which has maths in it? Should I take a stream which doesn't have maths in it? Now, frankly speaking, like I told you already, does it really matter? It doesn't. Why? Because CLAT does not bar you from taking anything, right? Does not bar you from whether it is whichever stream you do, CLAT will give you equal importance. You can still write CLAT. So to write CLAT at the eligibility level, believe me, maths or non-maths does not make any difference. Just like science or commerce does not make any difference. But the one thing I want to tell you, if you are a serious aspirant, if you really believe you want to be in the top 5% of the country, top 1% of the country in any entrance exam, and CLAT also for that matter, choosing a maths is definitely an advantage. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of assuming that maths nahi theek. Because you hate maths, you don't like maths, you dislike maths, you still, I would request you, I would suggest you, I would advise you, I would honestly tell you, I would commend you, I would do all that to really recommend you to still think doing maths, right? if you're capable. So if you're not at all capable, you're miserable at maths. Obviously, don't do maths. But if you're capable, but you don't enjoy it so much, I would seriously ask you to rethink holding maths in your 11th, 12th, because let me tell you, there is a bit of weightage in CLAT, but more important than the weightage, CLAT exam weightage is not important. But let me tell you, there's some programs after CLAT when you get into law and stuff also that require a level of treatment of math. It will help you. It will help you. You want to do UPSC later, you want to do any of these things. Believe me, maths will give you. A lot of times people ask me, but interesting question these days, even popular celebrities also kind of share this thing, education is not, yes, education, by the way, education is not the be all and end all for everything. But please understand, if you take maths, trigonometry करने से क्या होगा, calculus करने से क्या होगा, I'll let me tell you, those do not. If you think that everything that you do has to help in your daily life, it's not going to happen like that. But your mind capacity will increase, your neurons will fire. There's a kind of reasoning and ability that you'll get with maths. There's a rigor that you'll get with maths. That rigor that you have in maths is not there so much in the other subjects, right? You have any subject which is just theoretical, not so much problem oriented. What happens is your mind is used to only one part. See, your left brain and right brain. People who go into commerce and humanities, if you're only focusing on one part of your brain, what happens is for a competitive exam, like reasoning oriented exams like CLAT or IP Math, you need to have a very comprehensive brain. That is why you need to kind of fire your left side of the brain, which requires reasoning, which requires maths. So we suggest you as much as possible, just like you said, there's a bit of benefit for maths to be there. That's why I prefer maths, even though you're going to a commerce or humanities program, have maths as one of the subjects, one of the electives. So these are the two things I want to these are two big myths, big questions, big conundrums, big doubts people have, students have, parents have. So I hope I've answered that. It's very useful. Let me now take the questions that some of our friends are putting up here. So Rishi is asking, should we choose science stream for BSc LLB and commerce for become LLB? Absolutely, Rishi. For BSc, definitely, because see, at the end of the day, what happens is most of the BSc LLB, BA, LLB, become LLB programs, they kind of put conditions. If it is BSc, they'll say you have to have a science in 11th and 12th. For commerce, they might say you might have commerce. That definitely is there. They kind of put it as eligibility depending on the kind of college they kind of have. Most of the NLUs have only BA, LLB, become LLB. They don't too much have BSc. Very few have it, and some of the other deemed schools also have. So they do not have a problem. But wherever there's a BSc, LLB, they'll ask you for a science background in some of the other deemed schools. So that is definitely the answer. You need science stream for BSc. And I mean, it makes sense, right? You have a science background in 11th, 12th, it's logical for you to take BSc. If you don't have a science background in 11th, 12th, taking BSc in graduation doesn't make any sense, right? Similarly, those who want to take BCom, it's good to take commerce in 11th, 12th, it will be a continuation. I hope I've answered your question, Rishi. That's a logical thing there. I mean, eligibility is also same. Like you asked, there is the answer for that is yes. Now, Baswa is asked a very good question. So my boards are declared, which team should I take for class 11? So like I said, I hope Baswa, this slide was exactly for people like you, for students like you. Now that you're getting in boards, you should decide. Like I said, any stream you take, but preferably humanities or commerce, and then with one of the subject as maths. So I hope that has given you a clear answer, Basava, as to which stream you should take if you are really preparing for CLAT. Anyone who says UPSC is my goal, IAS is my goal, or CLAT is my goal, I suggest you to take commerce or humanities in 11th and 12th programs along with maths. Maths is one of the elective. If you are miserable at maths, you are very weak, there's no use, you don't take maths. But if you believe you can take maths, please take maths, it will help you. So this is one thing that I want to kind of tell you. So any questions, friends? Any questions? And this part of the session was very important before we get into the last part of the session. Any questions? Yes, Sudhanvi, that's a very nice question you're asking. Yes, is taking MEC for IP Mat a good option? Sudhanvi, I'll give you a thing. Yes, absolutely. IP Mat is also very similar to CLAT as compared to JEE, in the sense that IP Mat also is more skill-oriented exam as compared to a JEE, which is more a knowledge-oriented exam. In that context, because it requires English, it requires reasoning, it requires these kind of capabilities, I think it's more like CLAT. In that context, MEC is definitely the right thing for you to do. Instead of wasting time, your energy in a MPC or a BPC, it is more useful to take MEC. That is the first thing. Take MEC for IP Mat, no doubt. But one thing you should be very careful, Sudhanvi, is even that's when you take MEC, please understand the amount of maths focus an IP Mat student will have should be higher than a CLAT student. That's the only difference between IP Mat and CLAT. In CLAT, say maths is 10% weightage, in IP Mat, maths weightage is 50%. And what happens is maths questions in IP Math tested are a little higher level, not just the regular CLAT level questions. There are higher level questions that are asked in IP Math. So what particularly indoor? I am indoor in them. I'm not talking about all other IP Maths. I'm not talking about all other BB exams. I'm talking about indoor exam for say. That's why take MEC. It's the best program for IP Math. Focus more on maths. I hope Sudhanvi you got the answer. That is the program for IP Math. That will be very helpful. Any questions, keep typing, friends. I'm more than happy to answer. And as we get into the, I'll keep taking questions, keep writing your comments, your questions, friend. This is the right time as we, yeah. Okay. Mr. Mohan Reddy is asking about, please tell me about corporate law. Yes, as we discussed, I mean, in the earlier part of the session, I think we spent quite a bit of time about corporate law. I don't know if you were there from the beginning, Mr. Mohan Reddy, but I'll tell you, please look at that. And like I said, corporate law is an upcoming field. There are a lot of law firms coming up. In fact, there are two types of corporate law options available for students out there after LLB. One is law firms, like I discussed in the session, which kind of hire from NLUs, give you a campus placement, and you kind of sit in a law firm trying to kind of do case studies, do cases for other clients. But the other interesting field, the other interesting thing within corporate law that I'm seeing emerging, even in I'm talking about next tier law schools like ICFA and other places, right? One interesting thing that I'm seeing, I want to tell you is lot of big MNCs, big companies like even pharma companies like Dr. Reddy's or these kind of companies. At one point of time, say 5-6 years back, what used to happen is most of these companies, whenever they have any legal requirement, counsel requirement, they used to have a local level. Local level they have a kind of any particular case, any particular suit, they used to hire a local level kind of advocate, etc. Connections were like that. Now what's happening is very interesting thing is all these big companies, they are hiring a battery of consultants, even freshers. They're creating a benches at the highest level. That is at the central level. Large MNCs are all having a department, just like they have a department for technical, IT. They're having a department for legal. That is also one more reason why campus placements are high for at NLUs and top law schools, because these are corporate law options that we have. I hope that is useful, Mohan Reddy. And then we have Pramod. Yeah, Pramod is in a dilemma between CLAT and IP Math. Which one is better to choose? Pramod, I think this is interesting question, but I'll tell you the answer for this should not come from me. I think, let me tell you, this is something that there's a framework called Career Circle that we do at Abhyaas. We have recently done an article also. I request Abhyaas team to post the link to that article here to promote Career Circles framework related thing, how to choose a career. Remember, your choice between CLAT and IP Math is not based on what is better. It is based on what is better suited to you. Remember, कोई best नहीं होता, कोई better नहीं होता. It depends on what is better suited to you. Promote based on your mindset, based on your interest. Which one is more interesting to you? Would you want to go into more management, commerce, or would you want to go into more law? Think of that based on the judge. Both of them are equally tough. Both of them are equally competitive. 1:20. Keep that metric. 1:20 पे ही चलेगा. If you are there, you can make it in this or that. So I think, in terms of number of law schools, 22 law schools in CLAT as compared to IP Math. IP Math started with one. Only IIM Indore was there 5-6 years back. Now there are 5 IIMs that have started offering this program, about 23 IIMs. So by the time you write 20 to 23, maybe a few more IIMs might come. So, but the ratio, like I said, number of takers, while number of takers for CLAT is 60-70, number of takers for IP Math right now is around 15,000. So the ratio is a similar one. So that's what I want to tell you. So that is the answer for you, Pramod. Okay, Sudhanvi. Okay, Sudhanvi. Oh, you joined our Gyanul Academy. Wonderful, Sudhanvi. Gyanul Academy is a pinnacle program, best program within Abhyaas ecosystem, where you have a 2-year boarding program with boarding and everything. Your residential program for CLAT, IP Math, etc. We are the unique academy. CLAT and IP Math, we are the best academy. Right, you can do that. That's wonderful. He's focusing on 8th, 9th, 10th maths. Yeah, Rishi, that's a good question. Like I said, while broadly most of the competitive exams, particularly CLAT, will ask you questions in high school math only. IP Math doesn't. IP Math level of maths is definitely not 8th, 9th, 10th. 11th, 12th level maths is asked. That's why also another reason I suggested maths should be there in your people who want to prepare for these exams. IP Math requires 11th and 12th level. CLAT, you can still manage at 8th, 9th, 10th level, but please understand, sometimes the subject taught in 11th, 12th might not come in CLAT, but what happens is the kind of work you do in 11th and 12th maths, it will enable you to do the solving faster, solving better. That's why we suggest you to do that. That I hope I've answered, Rishi. Yes, can I decide at the end of my 12th? Pramod, see, this is very much like it is like if you have to, if you say I'll go to like airport and then decide which flight to board. If I go to a bus stand, bus station, and then I decide which bus to board, it is very much like that. If you want to decide the end of 12th, I'll be very honest. I mean, yes, while CLAT and IP-MAT, the preparation 60-70% is common. Even in our Gyanville Academy, even our Abhyaas programs also, we have both programs. We have IP-MAT program, we have CLAT program. There is definitely a kind of 50-60% commonality in terms of learning. But we tell one important thing. One important thing we tell our students is, our Abhyaas students and Gyanville students, it's very important for you to make the distinctions very early, because you cannot put your legs on two boats. You'll go nowhere, right? You can't go to a bus station, sit there, and then decide which city to go to, which bus to go to, which flight to go to. That is not going to work, right? You might still know. For example, you decide that you want to go to Mumbai, you want to decide to go to Delhi. वहां जाके दिल्ली के लिए कौन सा बस पकड़ना है, कौन सा फ्लाइट पकड़ना है, that is still okay. But please understand which destination. IP-MAT is a different destination, CLAT is a different destination. Just because the starting road from your house seems to be same, first 10 kilometers of it, please don't tell me after 10 kilometers you decide. That's very wrong. I would suggest you to decide the destination beforehand, because the kind of preparation, kind of skills is required. While 50% is common, it is different. It is start having a target. So please decide after 10th, not after 12th. I hope I've answered that question. Keep writing questions, friends. I'll be more than happy to answer every question. And by the way, at Abhyaas Law Prep, I'm just kind of quickly giving you an idea of what kind of programs we have for these things. We have 2-year programs for those who completed 10th, entering 11th. We have 1-year program for those who completed 12th. We have 1-year program those who completed 12th also. We have intensive program for those who have completed 12th. That is crash course intensive program as we call it. And there are people who are preparing CLAT foundation, pre-CLAT, who are in 9th and 10th. You can always reach out to us. We have a very interesting foundation program where, from the comfort of your home, while you're preparing for the 9th, 10th exams and stuff, we can give you a little bit of very interesting GK English reading and stuff that can enable you to put a foundation for CLAT and IAS. It's a very interesting program. You can suggest any friends, juniors, cousins of yours. That's very valuable program. You can do that. And like I said, Flight Maestro is basically a complete program. We have class 10 and above. We also have a program at one interesting thing we have is, we also have a Flight Maestro, is like all-in-one kind of a book also we have. And we have a 2-year boarding program, complete residential program also called Gyanville Academy. So these are various things that we have. So that's something that you can keep in mind. And yeah, this is about us, our awards that we have received, etc. That's anyway there. I'll leave it there on the slide. Okay, and yeah, I'll take questions. Pramod is asking, can I write both exams and then choose? That's exactly what I'm trying to suggest, Pramod. It is like, there are, I don't know if you know this, but there are people who prepare for MYPC. That is, they prepare for maths, biology, physics, and chemistry. They write medical exams, they write engineering exams, and based on what rank they get, they decide. That is very much like it. You can do. But what I'm saying is, with the kind of competition, with the kind of stress, with the kind of rigor that we're having, today it doesn't make any sense. Why should you kind of put both things? If you can take one of them, work on it very seriously, make it happen. I mean, by writing both, what will happen? You see the kind of maths focus required for IP-MAT is very high. That is not same for CLAT. The kind of GK focus required for CLAT is very high. That is not so much for IP-MAT. So by doing it, this both thing, you're not going to nagarka, nagatka. You are not going to do very well there. You're not going to do very well here. If you're too good, instead of wasting your energies on both of them, try to be all India rank 1, all India top 100 in one of them. Right? That is what I would suggest. That's what I would suggest. It's very important for you to take that call. Take that call. अगर आप में एनर्जी है, ताकत है दोनों एग्जाम लिखने का, so instead of writing both exams, एक एग्जाम take care and then say I'll fight to be the top 10 in the country. That is the way to prepare for, right? So these are the things that we have, friends. And what I suggest is, you can please follow us on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Telegram. We have various things. And please, we're more than happy to kind of answer any questions anytime. We'll be more than happy to help you. So this is something that I want to tell you. I think tomorrow we have another webinar, but there is more for seniors writing CLAT this year. So that's it, friends. That's it from me for today. Thank you. I think it's been a long session, 1 hour, 20 minutes, already done 80 minutes. So if there are any questions, I'll take questions. But otherwise, from my side, I'm done with the session. Thank you all for joining me. And very nice to kind of host this webinar. Hope you enjoyed the session. Hope you learned something new. And we look forward to kind of helping you more. We'll be bringing out more and more webinars like this. Senior faculty at Abhyaas Law Prep will be doing the sessions. Myself, my fellow director Padma, who is the Abhyaas Law Prep leader, she's going to do sessions. We are all going to do sessions. Looking forward to kind of do many more webinars, guys. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you, Pramod, for that. Yes, it was okay. So please, yeah, good. Sangavi saying she's clear. Thank you, Sangavi. Thank you, Pramod. Thanks a lot. We'll be happy if you can, those who have enjoyed the session, please like, please subscribe, please comment, please help us reach more people. One thing, none of you reminded me. I thought someone should remind me. I told you earlier during the ratio. I thought someone will. Pramod is asking IP mat. We'll do it. Pramod, one of the IP mat also will be webinar. We'll do it. There will be informed. There will be an IP mat webinar also. We'll inform that. Okay, but coming back, none of you reminded me. I told you in an earlier slide. Towards the end, I'll tell you something. One positive thing about Abhyaas Law Prep, Abhyaas programs is Abhyaas programs. We are a very senior faculty, very beautifully curated programs, best technology, best program, best materials, etc. But they're not like a commercial, not too much of hype and stuff. The beautiful thing about us is because we don't have thousands of students preparing with us. We have great conversion. We do not have 1 to special ranks. We don't believe in 1 or 2 ranks, but we have great conversion. Number of takers from our side versus the number of seats we get is very high. Like we said, in general exam flat, out of 20 people, 1%, out of 19 people, 1% is getting a seat. The beautiful thing about Abhyaas Law Prep programs is 1 out of every 4 people, 1 out of every 5 people who prepare with us gets into flat, gets into interview. That means we increase the success ratio as compared to market by 4x, 5x. That's the beauty of Abhyaas Law Prep programs, right? And similarly, IP mat, everything. IP mat is a much smaller number in terms of total tickets. That's why we did not speak about it, but same. And at Gyandal Academy is our 2-year rigorous residential program for these things. There, the ratio is much better. It is not even 1:4, 1:5. Out of every 3 people, out of every 2.5 people make it to flat. In fact, many of them get an LL suite, leave it, and move on to something else. That's a proud thing for us. We look forward to kind of, I think last year, Abhyaas Law Prep, the best rank is 40th, around All India rank 40. We're looking forward to kind of have many of you. We don't have thousands of students, so but we want to kind of get in top 10, top first rank and stuff. We're trying to reach out to more people, help us reach out to more people, and we'll be there. Thank you all. Thank you once again for joining this webinar. I enjoyed talking to you. I look forward to kind of e-meeting all of you, digitally meeting all of you again and again and again. All the very best, dear friends, my dear student friends and parents out there. Thank you, and a huge shout out to all of you. Thank you for joining at this late hour of the day. Please spread the news about Abhyaas. It will be very, very helpful for you. We look forward to. Please follow us. We'll keep sharing information, and wherever we do, bring webinars like this. Right, thanks a lot, friends. Thank you. So I'm ending the session here. Thank you once again.